Alright, now I'm going to discuss what net neutrality is and the effects it has on everyone in the world and their internet access. First, net neutrality is the basis of an open internet. So you have the products of that are no port blocking, no blocking at all really, but especially port blocking, some ISPs will do that. No bandwidth shaping, that some companies have been recently indicted for that. That's when you narrow bandwidth for some people and some other people get higher amounts of bandwidth. I'll go into details about that. And no government censorship. There are some places that do have government censorship so that you cannot access certain things on the internet. Okay, so recently the internet has changed and has been leading to some of these bandwidth shapings. And well, the most problem is a lot of people have been streaming high definition content. High definition requires a vast amount of space. The average an HD DVD or Blu-ray DVD, it can be over 35 gigabytes. I just downloaded one and it took me about 2 weeks. It's a lot of bandwidth. It's 24/7 on. So that's been demanding a lot of bandwidth from the ISPs. And then you have websites such as YouTube and MySpace and all that. And a lot of homes now have multiple computers. So whereas normally you just have, in the old days, you'd have one computer and every once in a while someone would get on it and surf the internet. Now you have multiple people accessing YouTube, everyone's streaming videos and talking on messages. It's requiring massive amounts of bandwidth. A lot of people are listening to music and videos. And then there's the whole file sharing thing. Whether you're doing it legally or illegally, it doesn't matter. A lot of people have been doing some file sharing using programs such as BitTorrent and MIRC. And that requires a lot of bandwidth. BitTorrent can saturate any line, whether it's a basic DSL line of 3 megabytes per second, or if it's a 10100 gigabit line, doesn't matter. You could share, everyone wants something you got, and if you share, people will take all your stuff. And many operators now are providing TV, such as Comcast cable. You have cable internet and you also have cable television. They all run on the same line. So if you're watching TV or surfing the internet, you're taking bandwidth. And all of that has resulted in a much greater use in bandwidth on the entire plane, the scope of things. So I'm going to point out a specific company, Comcast. They've been in the news a lot recently. And really, the things that are coming are going to be the shape of things to come in the future. Right now is a big decisive point. The FCC is thinking about stepping in, and that's part of the net neutrality, whether we want the FCC to step in and tell Comcast whether or not they could control the internet. And that's a big thing, because what if the FCC doesn't stop there? What if they say, not only can you not shape your bandwidth, but maybe you have to do it our way? It's a big concern for people. How far will the government go? So one of the things that Comcast has been allegedly doing is blocking ports. That's not allegedly, actually. I've experienced them blocking ports. They blocked one of our clients' ports, email. They told, I had called them up and asked them why they were doing it. They said that we were spamming. That was false allegations, and I asked them to clean the port. They would not open it up for me. Thus I had to change providers. It got that bad. They would not open the port for me. So that is true. And also they've been allegedly shaping traffic. The facts haven't come out on that, but apparently they've been narrowing bandwidth for some users who like to download all the time. So now they get less bandwidth, and so other people could use it. Now, this is what Comcast wants to do. It is a two-sided argument here. Comcast wants to provide a stable basis for all of its users. Their infrastructure cannot support unlimited download speeds. They do have the fastest speeds around. For residential, it's 8 megabytes per second. For business, it's up to 20 megabytes per second. That's a lot. And some people, bandwidth on a cable is shared. So if I'm downloading a lot, that means my neighbors won't be able to download so quickly. So what Comcast wants to do is, if I'm downloading a lot, they're going to say, hey man, you need to slow it down so that your neighbors could get some. That's a valid argument. I could see where they're coming for that. But on the user side, for people like me, I do leave my computer on a lot and it downloads 24/7. I use up all my bandwidth. I use Bell South obviously because they don't block any of my ports. I do a lot of server applications and I do a lot of file sharing. So one of the things that the big problem is, if I'm paying a lot of money for my internet, I want to get the full version of it. I don't want I don't want bandwidth shaping. I don't want to say, hey, at 8 o'clock at night, my bandwidth is going to go down to 1 megabyte per second because everyone else is using it. The claims of bandwidth with Comcast is they guarantee you 1 megabyte per second, but they advertise 8 megabytes per second. You're only guaranteed 1. That's okay. But the problem I have with this is if they're going to sell me something at 8 megabytes per second and only guarantee it at 1 megabytes per second, and if they're going to block my ports and all this, I don't have a choice really. Because some people only have Comcast. If you're watching this, you're on advanced cable, but where I live, I only have Comcast. So if I didn't have a choice between Bell South and Comcast, I might be screwed. I'd be stuck with that. And then I would have nothing else to do. That would be it. Comcast would say, hey, no more email, and I wouldn't get any more email. And the biggest question is, when will this end? So if we have net neutrality, and Comcast is allowed to start shaping their internet and say, hey, you know what, we're going to grant Google, we're going to give those guys unlimited internet because they pay us. And AT&T.net or whatever, we're going to say, no, you know what, they're our competitors, so we're going to start slowing down. Whenever I click on AT&T, it's going to go a little bit slower. That's bandwidth shaping. And so what we're going to be talking about something like that. We could experience problems like that where one site goes faster and the other site goes slower. And then we got internet censorship. That's going to be a big problem up and coming. Some countries such as Taiwan and China are starting to censor their internet. If you go into China and type in Tiananmen Square, you're going to get a picture of Tiananmen Square. If you come over to America and type in Tiananmen Square, you're going to get a picture of Tank Man. There's no Tank Man in China. You're not going to find any pictures of that. And I really don't like that. I'm a firm believer in open thoughts and you being able to find out everything. Censorship is not good. And what if you have, the ports? The ports is the last thing. If they're going to start blocking ports, then you might see one day your email stop working and then they won't open it up again. Or maybe if you have a server going, suddenly that's not going to stop working. And that's the basis between internet censorship and just if you weren't sure what it was, net neutrality, that's the basis. Having a clean, open internet. And right now we're going to be following some of the debates and some of the things that are going to be upcoming in the news. And hopefully the FCC will step in and say Comcast can't do the things that they're doing. But there's always a limit as to how far the FCC can go. And that's it for today.